Sorry for the delay. We're a little later starting than I would have liked. Bible study went a little longer than expected. I had to get back home, use the bathroom, make a drink. I had to get myself ready. Hope you are all doing okay. There we go. All right. Sorry. Well, welcome one and all to the reading room, to the Raven's Roost, as it were. Tonight we are going to finish reading Journey to the West. We've only got 4 chapters left to go. We're going to finish reading this darn book. It's been a while. I'm really glad to be wrapping this up. And if we finish with enough time, we may read a little short story or two. Who knows? We'll see how things go, how we're feeling by the end. But wanted to go ahead and let you guys know how much I appreciate y'all being here. A couple things that I want to say before we get started. First of all, as a little reminder, the reading stream has rules. If you are new to this, welcome. But please abide by the rules. The rules are we don't talk games here. This is not a stream where we talk about video games or For Honor or history or politics or anything like that. We're talking about books. We're talking about reading. We're talking about the story. Please keep that in mind. If you ask me questions like, what do you think of the new hero? Are you going to release this video soon? Or anything like that, I'm going to ignore it. Also, please, guys, keep all chatter and talk respectful. Don't get hostile with each other or inappropriate with each other. That's I would expect that, but I just wanted to let y'all know. And then finally, have a good time. I'm here to share writing and reading with you guys, and this is something that I really, really love. And this is a little new for me because, like I said, this book was not written by me. It's Journey to the West. It's The Monkey King, which is not written by me. Normally, I read my stories, but y'all asked if we could hear this, so I said that I would. So, with all that out of the way, let's not waste any more time. We left off on chapter 32. So let's get started. Actually, let me turn on a light. Okay, I can see it a bit better. All right. If y'all are ready, let's get started. Chapter 32. Time flew like an arrow. The seasons passed back and forth like a weaver's shuttle. The dog days of summer gave way to the first frost of autumn, but then the weather seemed to reverse itself. The autumn grew scalding. How can this be? wondered Tripitaka. We are approaching the kingdom of Shihali, Pigsy expounded knowledgeably, also known as Heaven's End, where the sun sets. Late every afternoon, the king sends people out into the city walls to beat drums and blow horns to block out the sound like the sea boiling. For when the sun drops into the ocean, it makes a deafening sizzle. Without music to block the noise, the city's children would all perish. Bunk, scoffed Monkey. We're still ages away from Shihali, and at this rate we're going, we might never get there. Then why is it so hot? Pigsy asked as they walked around squabbling. They came upon a large red house at the roadside. Go inside and find out what's going on with the weather, Tripitaka ordered Monkey. Putting away his staff and trying his best to look normal, Monkey approached the house just as an old man emerged. The man wore a rough orange robe and a bluish-black bamboo hat. His eyes were blue, his face bronze, his beard matted, and his eyebrows white. The sudden appearance of Monkey startled him. A monkey in a kilt! Where did you come from? He yelled. Don't be afraid, sir, Monkey replied with a bow and introduced his fellow travelers and the purpose of their journey. We've just arrived, and we're wondering if you could tell us the name of this place and why it's so hot here. The old man relaxed and smiled, revealing some gold teeth. Excuse my rudeness just now. My eyes are not what they used to be. Please, come in, all of you. Monkey waved the others over, all bowed to the old man, who was as charmed by Tripitaka's beauty as he was horrified by the hideousness of Pigsy and Sandy. Yet he had little choice but to give them tea and a meal. Well, you've reached the country of Flame Mountain, where it is hot all year round. The mountain itself is 60 miles from here, blocking the way to the west and engulfing the surrounding area with fire. I suggest you pick a new destination for your pilgrimage. Nothing can get past Fire Mountain. While Tripitaka wallowed in fear and despair, a young man pushed a red cart appeared at the door. Rice pudding for sale? Monkey plucked a hair, turned it into a copper penny, and exchanged it for a piece of steamed rice cake. Hot, 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 hot! He exclaimed, juggling the cake from one hand to the other. If you can't stand the heat, then stay out of Flame Mountain, the young man said with a smile. If it's so hot, wondered Monkey, how did you grow rice for this pudding? Why, with the help of Princess Ironfan. Who? Monkey asked. She's an immortal with a magic palm leaf fan. One wave of it puts the fire out. A second brings a breeze, and a third rain. That belief respite allows us to grow crops. Otherwise, nothing would grow around here, not even a blade of grass. Monkey rushed back inside, presenting Tripitaka with the pudding. He explained what the peddler had just told him. We just need to get Iron Fan's fan, and then we can extinguish the mountain of flames. We'll be able to carry on our way, and the locals will be able to enjoy a more temperate climate. But you don't have any gifts, the old man pointed out. The locals have to prepare pigs, sheep, cash, exotic flowers and fruits, chickens, geese, and fine wines before begging for a wave of the fan. Just give me the address, Monkey said nonchalantly. Well, all right, she lives in Palmleaf Cave on Jade Cloud Mountain. It's about 1,500 miles southwest of here. No worries, Monkey grinned. I'll be there and back before you know it. Well, at least let me pack you some biscuits for the journey and watch for the wolves and tigers. Look, I'll go as I am, Monkey laughed, then vanished. An instant later, Monkey parked his auspicious light beam on Jade Cloud Mountain. Searching for Palmleaf Cave, he heard a woodcutter chopping timber and singing to himself in the forest. Greetings, said Monkey with a bow, rushing up. The woodcutter dropped his axe and returned the bow. Is this Jade Cloud Mountain? Monkey asked. Indeed. And where might I find Palmleaf Cave? Ah, you mean the home of Princess Ironfan, wife of King Bull Demon? Even Monkey was shaken by this revelation. Not that family again, he sighed to himself. I've had more than enough trouble from Red Boy and his bad-tempered uncle. Now I have to face his mother? I don't like my chances of getting the fan off her. The woodcutter smiled. Buddhists aren't supposed to worry about anything. Follow this path 5 or 6 miles to the east, and you'll come to Palmleaf Cave. Deciding to confide in the woodcutter, Monkey told him about the pilgrimage and the feud with the Iron Fan's son. Well, don't fret about your history with the family, the woodcutter comforted him. Just concentrate on getting the fan, and I'm sure you'll succeed. Thanking him for his advice, Monkey went on his way. He soon arrived at the entrance to Palmleaf Cave. The view over the mountain was spectacular. Cool, shady bamboo forests, paths dense with flowers, moss-covered rocks, wild cranes roosted on towering pines, orioles singing from weeping willows. King Bull, Monkey called through the door with as much bonahime as he could muster. It's your brother! Open up! Out came a young girl carrying a flower basket and resting a hoe on her shoulder, radiating serenely. Would you deliver a message to the princess? Monkey asked, her palms pressed together. I'm seeking scriptures in the west, but Flame Mountain is blocking my way. I've come to borrow the Palmleaf fan. Of course, the girl replied. And your name is? Monkey. The girl went back inside, kneeled before her mistress, and announced her visitor and his purpose. As soon as she heard the name Monkey, Iron Fan predentally flushed with rage. How dare that damn monkey show his face here? Bring me my armor and weapons. Plated up and wielding 2-bladed swords, she strode out of the cave. Monkey quickly sized her up. She was wearing a priest's robe of patchwork brocade, the waist cinched with a pair of tiger tendons, 3-inch phoenix bill shoes, and trousers with golden dragon whisker knee fringes. Where's that monkey? She bellowed. Here I am, sister-in-law, he announced with a bow. Pah! What do you mean, sister-in-law? And stop bowing in that stupid way. Your husband and I have been sworn brothers these past 500 years. I understand that you're his wife, and that means I'm your brother-in-law. If we're family, then why did you persecute my son? Monkey opted to feign ignorance. And your son would be Red Boy of Firecloud Cave by Desiccated Pine Stream on Roaring Mountain. Name ring a bell? Just when I was wondering how to destroy you, here you come knocking at my door. Prepare to die! Monkey tried to smile his way out of it. Surely some mistake has been made. Monkey was not in the wrong here. Your dear son had captured my teacher Tripitaka and was planning to either steam or boil him. Guan Yin then rescued Tripitaka and gave your dear son a senior position in her administration, where he is exempt from mortal cycles of birth and death, enjoying life as long as heaven and earth, sun and moon. Perhaps a thank you is in order? Smart talking, Simeon, spat Iron Fan. Let me have a go at your head. If you survive, I'll give you the fan. If not, you can go and entertain King Yama with your back chat. Monkey walked up to her. All right, don't hold back now, but you have to give me the fan when you're done. She hacked at him a dozen or so times, Monkey giggling all the while. Losing her nerve, Iron Fan turned and made to flee. Wait, where are you going? Asked Monkey. What about the fan? It's not for lending, retorted Iron Fan. Monkey now produced his staff, and the two of them did their best to kill each other, like the affectionate in-laws they were. As night fell, however, Iron Fan realized that Monkey would ultimately get the better of her in a straight fight, so she shook her palm-leaf fan at him, and a gust of freezing wind blew him away, and she returned victoriously to her cave. Monkey drifted all through the night like a leaf in a cyclone, until he finally managed to cling to the summit of a mountain as day broke. After catching his breath, he discovered he'd been blown as far as the Lesser Sumeru Mountain, a sacred Buddhist peak. Ah, what a woman, Monkey sighed in admiration. Now, how do I get back on course? Remembering that the mountain was home to a bodhisattva with substantial magic powers, one Ling Ji, he followed the sound of bells to present himself at Ling Ji's temple. Ah, well done, Monkey, Ling Ji congratulated him, hopping off his throne. Back with the scriptures already? Not exactly, replied Monkey. Then what are you doing here? This isn't on the road to the west. Monkey explained his latest imbroglio, this time with Princess Iron Fan. And that's how I ended up here. How far is it back to Flame Mountain from here? Ling Ji seemed to find this whole story enormously entertaining. Princess Iron Fan's palm leaf fan, he explained with a smile, was created by heaven and earth back when chaos divided and Pongu built the universe. It's made of magic leaves of supreme yin, darkness and cold, which is why it can extinguish all fires. It can fan a single human 84,000 miles. Sumeru's only 50,000 miles from Flame Mountain, so you did very well to stop here. Impressive, admitted Monkey. But now what am I to do? Oh, don't worry, Ling Ji consoled him. Some years back, the Buddha gave me a treasure for this very situation, the wind-stilling elixir, which will enable you to resist her fan. You can then take the fan, extinguish the fire, and carry on to the west. He fished out of his sleeve the magic pellet, which he sewed firmly onto the underside of Monkey's collar. Not a moment to lose, Ling Ji urged him. Jade Cloud is that way to the northwest. After an instant's cloud somersault, Monkey was back on Iron Fan's door, banging on it with his staff. Open up! Monkey's back and he wants the fan. This monkey must be quite something, thought a fearful Iron Fan. How can he be back so soon after I fanned him? This time I'll fan him 2 or 3 times. That'll send him packing for good. She stomped out of the cave again. Still got a death wish, I see, she greeted her adversary. Look, play fair, Monkey said, smiling back. Lend me the fan so we can get past that mountain. You'll have it back straight after. She answered by charging at him again. Realizing after a few minutes that the fight wasn't going her way, Iron Fan fanned him once more, but this time Monkey was completely immovable. Technical issues? He inquired with a grin. Panicking, Iron Fan ran back inside the cave and locked the door. Popping the wind-stilling elixir into his mouth, Monkey transformed into a tiny cricket and squeezed his way through a crack in the door. Inside, Iron Fan was shouting for tea. Her maidservant poured a bowl for her so quickly that bubbles formed on the surface. Monkey nimbly buzzed inside one of the bubbles. After the thirsty Iron Fan gulped down the tea, Monkey changed back to his true self inside her stomach. I want that fan, he bellowed. Did you not shut the doors? Iron Fan asked her maids, growing pale with fright. Why can I hear Monkey shouting at me? The voice is coming from inside you, one of the servants told her. Monkey? What trick is this? Iron Fan demanded. Oh, this is no trick, Monkey argued. I'm a fully qualified immortal with serious abilities, and I'm currently deployed some of them in your esteemed stomach. I've got a particularly scenic view of your lungs and liver. You must be hungry and thirsty after that fight, so here's a bowl for you to drink out of. He stamped his foot hard on the base of her stomach. And here's something for you to chew on. He butted his head up toward Iron Fan's heart. The princess writhed on the ground in pain, her face yellow from agony. Ah, spare me! I'll spare you out of brotherly love, but I want the fan now. It's yours, wailed Iron Fan. Just come out and get it. I want to set eyes on it first, demanded Monkey. Iron Fan ordered her maids to hold it up. Monkey crept to the top of her throat to see it for himself. All right, he said. I'll leave by your mouth so I don't make a hole in your rib cage. Open wide. He then flew back out of the princess's mouth as a cricket, returned to his true form, seized the fan, and strode out. The maids couldn't get the door open fast enough. Turning his cloud around, Monkey returned to the red brick house. Monkey's back, Pigsy squealed in delight. Is that the fan? Monkey asked the old man, producing the prize. The very same. Marvelous, Monkey, exclaimed Tripitaka. That can't have been easy. Ah, it was nothing, replied Monkey. Would you believe it, though? That Princess Iron Fan turned out to be the wife of King Bull Demon and the mother of Red Boy. She wasn't too pleased to see me. After hearing about Monkey's trials on his quest for the fan, Tripitaka thanked him profusely, then the disciples bade the old man farewell. They proceeded west for another 40 miles, getting progressively more roasted. My trotters are on fire, complained Pigsy. Stay where you are, Monkey told the others. I'm going to fan the fire. When the rain has cooled the ground, we can cross the mountain. He fanned it once, but the flames raged even more fiercely. He fanned it a second time, and the blaze intensified 100-fold. He waved it a third time, and the flames shot up as high as the eye could see. Although Monkey fled as fast as he could, the hair on his thighs were still singed to oblivion. "Run away!" he cried. The party of pilgrims fled some 20 miles eastward before Monkey started to rage at what had happened. "How did she trick me? If I'd run any slower, I'd have lost all my fur." While Tripitaka wept inconsolably, Pigsy amused himself by provoking Monkey. "Aren't you supposed to be immune to flames, Monkey?" "Idiot!" Monkey lashed back. "Because I wasn't expecting the fire, I didn't have time to do the fire repellent spell." "Have a bite to eat, Monkey!" A voice suddenly broke into their argument. "You'll feel better." Turning, the four of them saw an old man caped and gabbed and leaning on a cane with a dragon's head. Following him was a demon with the beak of a hawk and the cheeks of a fish, carrying on his head a copper pot containing steamed cakes and yellow millet. "Allow me to introduce myself," the old man said, bowing. "I am the spirit of Flame Mountain. I thought you could use some refreshments." "Do you think we're interested in a food at a time like this? How are we going to put this fire out so we can carry on to the west?" barked Monkey. "You're the one who set this fire burning, you know," the spirit pointed out. "Poppycock! When did I go around starting fires?" "Let me explain," replied the spirit. "This mountain did not exist until 500 years ago, when you made all that trouble in heaven and Lao Tzu had to smelt you inside his brazier of 8 trigrams. When he opened it, you kicked over the brazier, dislodging a few burning bricks that fell onto this very spot and became Flame Mountain. I was the shift worker attending the brazier, and on grounds of professional negligence, Lao Tzu banished me here, where I became the local spirit. You need the princess's fan to extinguish the fire." "Well, isn't this it?" asked Monkey, picking it up from the side of the road where he had left it. "It only made the blaze stronger." "Ah," the spirit smiled. "She duped you with a fake. If you want the real one, you'll have to seek out King Bull Demon." "Why?" asked Monkey, only half persuaded by the spirit's account. "King Bull Demon is Princess Ironfan's husband. Some while ago, however, he left her and currently resides in Cloud Scraper Cave on Thunderhorde Mountain. The cave's former master, a Fox King, passed away at the ripe old age of 10,000, leaving behind a daughter called Princess Jadeface and an extraordinary fortune with no one to look after it. 2 years ago, Jadeface learned how powerful King Bull Demon was and offered him all of their fortune as a dowry if he agreed to become her consort. So the king abandoned Ironfan and hasn't been back to visit her since. You'll only get a hold of that fan with his help. If you succeed, you'll not only extinguish the fire, enabling the pilgrimage to proceed, but also solve the region's appalling climate problems. And I'll be pardoned and allowed to return to work for Lao Tzu in heaven. Win, win, win." "Fine. So where is this Thunderhorde Mountain?" Monkey asked. "About 3,000 miles due south of here." Telling Pigsy and Sandy to look after Tripitaka and the spirit to keep them all company, Monkey disappeared with a whoosh. In less than an hour, Monkey landed on yet another spectacularly lovely mountain. After admiring the scenery for a while, he picked his way down from the summit. Quite lost, he encountered a beautiful young woman on the edge of a shade pine forest, holding a fragrant sprig of orchid. As soon as she noticed him, the girl was paralyzed with fear, for he was an unusual-looking creature. "Where did you come from?" she said trembling. "What do you want?" Best not to mention the fan outright, Monkey thought. In case she's related to old Bull Demon, I'd better just say that he's wanted back home. Out loud, he spoke. "I'm looking for Cloud Scraper Cave. Could you direct me there, please?" "And what is your business there?" she asked. "Princess Ironfan from Palm Leaf Cave on Jade Cloud Mountain has sent me to fetch King Bull Demon." The girl immediately flew into a rage. "That worthless hag! In the 2 years Bull Demon's been living with me, he sent her endless pearls, gold, silver, jade, silk, and satin as alimony to what she can live in the lap of luxury, and now she wants him to go and see her? Does she have no shame?" By now, Monkey had deduced both that this was Princess Jadeface and that she was profoundly irritating. "Hypocrite!" he threw back at her. "You bought King Bull Demon with your own fortune!" The terrified girl turned and fled on her tiny feet with Monkey in pursuit, through the shady forest and all the way to Cloud Scraper Cave. She dashed in and slammed the door behind her. While Monkey paused once more to admire the scenery, Jadeface, panting and perspiring, made straight for the library where King Bull Demon was quietly studying some elixir manuals. The girl flung herself at him and sobbed uncontrollably. There, soothed King Bull Demon with a smile. "Whatever's wrong, darling?" "Don't darling me," complained the girl, now sufficiently recovering from her petulance. "You almost got me killed." "Why are you so angry with me?" said Bull Demon, laughing at her fury. I took you in because everyone said you were such a hero. I thought you'd protect me, but that first wife of yours has got you wrapped around her little finger. Jadeface now told him what had just happened while she was out picking orchids, leaving out some of the less flattering personal comments she had made about Princess Ironfan, and finished with her being pursued all the way back to the cave by a terrifying monkey. Bull Demon eventually calmed her down, but something struck him as fishy.
My first wife runs a very tight ship with an all-female staff. I'm not at all convinced that she would have sent a hideous monkey demon as a messenger. Time to investigate.
Strapping on a gold curious lined with silk brocade and an iron helmet polished in a bright silver, he strode out of the cave wielding a cast-iron cudgel to confront Monkey. As he took in the splendiferous of Bull Demon, Monkey had to admit that his blood brother from half a millennium ago had done well for himself. "Recognize me?" he asked Bull Demon.
Monkey, am I right?
"Right the first time. Long time, brother. I must say you haven't aged a bit. My compliments."
Enough blandishments, roared Bull Demon. Why did you give my son Red Boy of Firecloud Cave by desiccated Pine Stream on Roaring Mountain such a hard time?
Not that again. Don't make it out to be the unreasonable one, old chap. Your son was about to eat my teacher, and now he's living the good life up with Guan Yin.
All right, I'll let you off for that one. But why did you attack my concubine?
"Oh, that," Monkey laughed. "I didn't know where to find you, so I asked her ever so nicely for some directions. Then she gave me a tongue lashing, and it might have been a little rough. How was I to know that she was my sister-in-law? Would it help if I said I was sorry?"
Ugh, I'll spare you for old time's sake. Now beat it.
You're too kind. But I'm afraid there's one other thing I need to beg of you."
Don't push your luck, Monkey,
growled Bull Demon. "Look, it's like this," Monkey carried on regardless. "There I was, escorting that Tang monk of mine to the west, and what do you know? There's a whooping flame mountain in our way. The locals told us that my esteemed sister-in-law, Princess Ironfan, happens to possess the palm leaf fan that can extinguish fire, but she's not so keen on letting us borrow it. Be a compassionate Bull Demon, and come with me now to Jade Cloud Mountain, would you, and persuade her to lend us the fan? We'll return it to a mint condition as soon as we're past that furnace."
So that's what you're after, Bull Demon exploded. I'll bet you insulted my wife too, and now you have the gall to ask for my help. This time you've gone too far, Monkey. Have a taste of my cudgel.
I really do need that fan.
If you can hold your own against me, growled Bull Demon, I'll tell my wife to lend it to you. If not, I'll kill you just to cheer myself up.
Good plan, brother. It's been centuries since we tested ourselves against each other. I've really missed our mortal combat. When they were about 100 clashes in, each fighting on their respective auspicious clouds, a voice called out from the summit of Thunderhorde Mountain, "Lord Bull Demon, my sovereign begs the pleasure of your company for dinner."
Bull Demon blocked and held Monkey's staff. Hold on. Back after a banquet.
Dropping down from the clouds, Bull Demon went back inside his cave.
Dearest wife, he told Princess Jadeface, our hairy visitor is the infamous Monkey. I drove him away with my cudgel, so he won't give you any more trouble. I'm off to have a drink with a friend.
He then swapped his armor for a duck green silk velvet jacket, mounted a water-repellent golden-eyed beast, ordered the servants to guard the door, and disappeared northwest into the cloud and fog. After watching him leave, Monkey turned into a gust of wind and chased after his adversary until the latter disappeared amid the folds of a mountain. After a little exploration, Monkey discovered a deep, limpid pool. "I'll bet he dived in there," he thought. Transforming this time into a 36-pound crab, Monkey leapt in and sank straight to the bottom, where he encountered a finely carved gateway beneath which was tethered the water-repellent golden-eyed beast. Walking through the portal, the monkey crab discovered it was perfectly dry inside. He heard music coming from a banquet hall with scarlet walls, shell-shuttered towers, and golden-roofed tiles. Peeking in through the doorframe of milky jade, he took in a scene of aquatic revelry. Whales singing, giant crabs dancing, tortoises piping, alligators drumming, and perch courtesans stroking jade zithers. Inconscience by the sword of honor was King Bull Demon, surrounded by dragons, all busy toasting one another. "Well, seeing as Bull Demon is enjoying himself so much, why should I hang around waiting for him?" mused Monkey. "It's not like he's going to lend me the fan himself. Better still to steal his golden-eyed beast, impersonate him, and fool his first wife into handing over the goods." Becoming Monkey once more, he untied the beast, hopping into a carved saddle, and rode straight back to the surface of the pool. There he transformed into the exact likeness of King Bull Demon, soared off to Palmleaf Cave, and demanded to be let in.
Your husband is back.
Two of the maids reported to Ironfan, who immediately tidied her hair and rushed out to greet him. Not realizing the deception, she took him by the hand, led him into the cave, and proceeded to make the most tremendous fuss over him. In no time at all, the two were chatting pleasantly over tea. "It's been too long, Bull Demon." Indeed. You've been so wrapped up in your new consort that you seem to have completely forgotten about me. What brings you here today?
Ah, how could I forget you? It's just that after moving in with Princess Jadeface, I've been run ragged by one thing after another. My friends' problems, running another household. But I'm here to warn you about something. I've heard that Monkey is plotting to get your fan from you so that he can cross Flame Mountain. I still haven't forgiven him for what he did to our son. Tell me the moment he shows up here that I can chop him into 10,000 pieces.
Iron Fan now summarized her 2 encounters with Monkey, all the way up to her capitulation over his stomach.
What? Exploded her fake husband. Monkey already has the fan?
Oh, don't worry, Iron Fan smirked. I fobbed him off with a fake.
So where's the real fan?
Still safe and sound in my possession. The maids now brought him some wine.
Do drink up, my precious persimmon, Monkey cajoled her. Thank you for looking after our home while I've been gone.
Oh, please don't mention it, replied Iron Fan, refilling the cup. After a few more rounds, Iron Fan had been thoroughly disinhibited by drink. She edged closer to Monkey. She held his hand, rubbing his shoulder, whispering sweet nothings in his ear, flushing peach pink, and undid her top buttons. They drank from the same cup. They ate fruit from each other's mouths. Monkey had no choice but to play along. Seeing that her defenses were lowered, Monkey pressed on with his mission. Where have you put the real fan, my little cauliflower? You must be careful with it. That monkey you know is a master of disguise. He might just try to trick you again. Here it is, Iron Fan giggled, spitting out an object the size of an almond leaf. Monkey took it in his hand disbelievingly. Can this really be it? He wondered to himself. Iron Fan now rubbed her powdered cheek against his face. Oh, put the fan away and have another drink. What are you thinking about? Monkey decided to seize the moment.
How can such a tiny thing extinguish fire?
Has that jade face rotted your brain? Replied Iron Fan, reckless from drink. Surely you remember. Twist the 7th red thread on the handle, chant the magic words, hoist cho hees, chi chi choi ho, and it will grow 12 feet long and extinguish any blaze. Carefully committing these instructions to memory, Monkey propped the fan into his mouth, then rubbed his face and revealed his true identity. Recognize me now? He yelled at Iron Fan. She was so shocked and ashamed by her sudden realization of Monkey's deception that she stumbled and fell, knocking over tables and chairs as she went. Completely indifferent to her distress, Monkey strode triumphantly out of the cave. He hopped onto a cloud that took him straight to the top of the mountain, where he spat out the fan and followed Iron Fan's usage instructions. The good news was that it was clearly different from the earlier fake one. It immediately grew to 12 feet and was enveloped in an auspicious light and prosperous vapors. The bad news was that Monkey had not thought to learn the magic for shrinking the fan back down, so he had no choice but to haul the thing back on his shoulders. Meanwhile, Bull Demon was finally leaving his underwater banquet, returning to the gateway. However, he discovered that his steed had vanished.
Who stole my water-repellent golden-eyed beast? He roared at the gathering spirits.
It wasn't us, they pleaded, falling to their knees. We were all in the banquet hall, singing, playing, and serving.
Could an intruder have somehow got it? He wondered.
I do recall seeing an unfamiliar crab wandering about, recalled one of his sons.
I think I can guess what happened, Bull Demon said. Before you invited me tonight, I was battling with Sun Wukong, who wanted the palm leaf fan off me so that he could carry on his way west. He must have turned into a crab to follow me here, stolen my ride, and gone on my wife's place to finagle the fan off her. Not the monkey who turned heaven upside down, the watery spirit said, trembling. The very same, Bull Demon confirmed. I'd advise you to avoid the road to the west for the time being. Parting the water, King Bull Demon leapt out of the pool, hopping onto a yellow cloud and made for Palmleaf Cave on the Jade Cloud Mountain, where he found his first wife wailing and raging and the golden-eyed beast tethered outside. You bastard! Iron Fan screamed at him. How could you let that monkey steal your golden-eyed beast and your identity and humiliate me like that? Where is he?
Bull Demon asked between gritted teeth. That damned ape tricked the fan off me, turned back into a monkey, and disappeared. I'm so angry I could die.
Calm down. I'll catch that monkey, get the fan back, then skin him, pulverize his bones, and gouge out his heart. Now give me my weapons.
You don't keep your weapons anymore? The maids pointed out.
All right, then give me my wife's weapons.
The maids handed over 2 blue-bladed swords. Taking off the duck-green silk velvet jacket he'd worn to the banquet, King Bull Demon tightened his belt and headed straight for Flame Mountain. Soon enough, he caught up with Monkey, who was strolling merrily along toward Flame Mountain with the enormous fan on his shoulders.
So he even swindled my wife out of the trick for enlarging the fan, Bull Demon thought. No good asking him for it directly. He'll just fan me into oblivion. I understand that he has 2 comrades, a pig and a sand spirit, both of whom I knew back when they were demons. I'm going to impersonate the pig to give that monkey a taste of his own medicine. I'll bet he's too pleased with himself to recognize me.
Bull Demon, you see, had also mastered 72 transformations. He was pretty much a match for Monkey in terms of skill set, though a little slower and heavier on his feet. He turned himself into the exact likeness of Pigsy, took a shortcut to get ahead, and made straight for the self-satisfied Simeon. Busy reflecting on how clever he was, Monkey didn't bother to verify Pigsy's identity. "Where are you heading, Pigsy?" he asked.
"Well, you were gone so long," answered the artful king, "that Tripitaka was worried you couldn't defeat Bull Demon, so he sent me to help you."
"I've saved you the bother," Monkey laughed. "I've got the fan." Out came the whole story. The battle, the banquet, the bogus romancing of Iron Fan.
"That can't have been easy," said the uncharacteristically solicitous Pigsy. "You must be exhausted. Let me carry the fan for you."
Monkey unthinkingly handed it over. The Bull Demon was, of course, an authority on how to control the fan. As soon as it was in his hands, he made a magic sign of some sort and was instantly as tiny as an almond leaf.
"Recognize me now, wretched monkey!" he yelled, changing back to his true form.
"Ah, what an idiot I've been," Monkey berated himself before pulling out his staff and bringing it down hard on Bull Demon's head. After dodging the blow, Bull Demon fanned Monkey, unbeknownst to him, and also to Monkey, in fact. After Monkey had placed the wind-stilling elixir in his mouth with a cricket in Iron Fan's stomach, he had absentmindedly swallowed it and hence became utterly immovable. The appalled Bull Demon tossed the fan into his mouth so as to free up both hands to slash at Monkey. While this pair of swindlers battled it out, spraying dust, dirt, sand, and rocks at each other, Tripitaka was still sitting by the road, oppressed by heat and thirst. "How strong is this King Bull Demon?" he asked the local spirit.
"His magic powers are infinite. He's an exact match for Monkey."
"Where is Monkey?" Tripitaka began to fret. "It doesn't take him any time to travel 2,000 miles, but he's been gone for a whole day. He must be battling the Bull Demon. Pigsy, Sandy, which of you would like to go and help Monkey fight a Bull Demon with infinite magic powers? We really need that fan."
"Oh, I'd love to help, but it's getting late," Pigsy replied, "and I don't know the way."
"I do," replied the local spirit. "I can take you." A resigned Pigsy hopped onto a fast easterly cloud with the spirit until they heard a commotion of voices and wind, the battle between Monkey and Bull Demon.
"Yoo-hoo, Monkey, it's me!" shouted Pigsy.
Monkey took out on Pigsy his annoyance at having fallen into Bull Demon's trap. "You've gone and properly messed things up here," he grumbled at Pigsy, who was nonplussed until Monkey explained Bull Demon's fraud through impersonation. Enraged at learning about the deception, Pigsy rushed at the Bull Demon, showering him with blows. Exhausted by a day's battle, Bull Demon turned into a swan and flew off. Monkey pursued him as a Gryfalcon, trying to peck the swan's eyes out. The Bull Demon went on the attack now as a yellow eagle. Monkey fought back as a black phoenix. Bull Demon next transformed into a musk deer. Monkey went after him as a hungry tiger. When Bull Demon became a leopard, Monkey pounced as a golden-eyed lion. Bull Demon was now a bear, Monkey an elephant, trying to wrap his python-like trunk around the bear. With a hoot of laughter, Bull Demon returned to his true form, a huge white bull, 10,000 feet long, 8,000 feet high. Monkey also became his real self and grew to 100,000 feet. This time, the 40-odd guardian deities had been detailed to watch over the pilgrims, and Monkey's former antagonist, Nezha, pitched in to help Monkey. The outnumbered Bull Demon fled back to Iron Fan's cave on Jade Cloud, shutting himself inside. By this point, Iron Fan was all for surrendering, but Bull Demon insisted on continuing the fight. An instant later, however, Pigsy smashed in the cave's second door. Leaving the fan in his wife's safekeeping, the Bull Demon escaped once more, but ran directly into the cosmic nets set up by a Buddhist warrior guarded from the cliff of mysterious demons. For both the Buddha and the Jade Emperor had dispatched their people to bring Bull Demon to heel. With the help of 3 magical weapons, a wheel of immortal fire, a demon-reflecting mirror to prevent Bull Demon from transforming again, and a lasso, Nezha finally apprehended King Bull Demon, then led him back to Iron Fan, who, seeing the game was up, fell to her knees and surrendered the fan. Back on the roadside where Tripitaka and Sandy were waiting, the sky lit up as Monkey and his heavenly reinforcements returned with the fan. Walking up to Flame Mountain, Monkey waved the fan once and the fire subsided. A second time and a cool breeze blew. A third time and a drizzle fell from the sky. The helpful deities scattered and King Bull Demon was taken off in disgrace to see the Buddha. Iron Fan now kneeled before Monkey and begged for her fan back. "I promise never to misbehave again. Please return my fan to me so that I may repent and begin a new life of religious study." "First," answered Monkey, "tell me how to extinguish the fire permanently." "You must fan the mountain 49 times, revealed Iron Fan. Monkey did so. The fire went out. The rain came. The next day he returned the fan to her. "I'm acting in good faith here, Iron Fan. Don't let me down." Bowing her thanks, Iron Fan began a life of reclusive self-cultivation. The local spirit decided to stay on Flame Mountain after all to look after the locals and live off their offerings. And the four pilgrims carried on to the west, the ground wet and cool beneath their feet. That was a long chapter. Needed a drink after that one. If any of you guys have ever played the game Black Myth Wukong, you actually get to a level where you learn more about Bull Demon King and Red Boy. It's actually a really cool level. Anyway. Chapter 33. Winter arrived again, and the shivering disciples trudged on until they approached the gate of another unknown city. Just inside its outer wall, they found an elderly soldier huddled up, asleep in the sun. Monkey shook him gently. Coming to with a start, the soldier immediately rolled to his knees and began kowtowing, for Monkey was an intimidating vision to wake up to. "Calm down," said Monkey. "I'm just a Buddhist monk from the east traveling west for scriptures. I'm a stranger here and want to know what this place is so called." The soldier got to his feet, yawning and stretching. "Oh, this city used to be the kingdom of Bhikkhu, but the name changed recently to the city of Young Sons." "Is there a king?" asked Monkey. Oh, yes." "I wonder why they changed the name," Tripitaka mused when Monkey reported the conversation. "Let's go in and make inquiries." After passing through 3 sets of city gates, they reached a wide, thriving thoroughfare, bustling with attractive, well-dressed people. There were noisy wine shops, brightly decorated tea houses, and stores stuffed with gold and brocade. After browsing through the streets for some time, they began to notice that there was a coop, big enough for geese and screened with multicolored satin curtains in front of each house. Monkey decided to investigate. "Best not," said Tripitaka, pulling him back. "Remember how ugly you are. You'll scare the locals." Monkey took his point. "Well, then, I'll go in disguise." Transforming into a bee, he buzzed up to one of the coops and crawled through a gap in the curtains. Inside, he discovered a little boy sitting in the middle of a box. A visit to another 10 or so coops revealed the same thing. Every box contained a little boy between the ages of 4 and 6, either playing, crying, eating fruit, or sleeping. Monkey revealed his findings to Tripitaka, who grew more perplexed than ever. Following a bend in the street, they came to a government building called the Golden Pavilion Post House. "Let's ask here about the city, get the horse fed, and take room for the night," said Tripitaka. The postal station master received them warmly, offering them tea and a meal, and prepared the guest room. "You can have your travel documents stamped at court first thing tomorrow," he told them. After thanking him, Tripitaka had a question. Could you tell me, please, how you rear children around here?" "Well, first you need the father's sperm and the mother's blood," the station master patiently explained. 10 months after conception, the child will be born. After birth, the child drinks the mother's milk for 3 years, until they're weaned. You seem to have lived a very sheltered life." "Well, it's just when I entered the city, I noticed there was a coop containing a little boy in front of every house, and I wondered why." The station master immediately lowered his voice. "Look, don't ask about that, I beg you. Please go to bed and be on your way tomorrow." But Tripitaka refused to let go of the matter. Finally giving in, the station master dismissed all of his attendants. When they were seated together alone beneath the lamplight, the station master spoke quietly again. "Okay, this is the doing of our wicked king. This was once the kingdom of Bhikkhu, but local songs have recently redubbed it the city of Young Sons. 3 years ago, an old man passing himself off as a Taoist priest arrived, bringing with him a young girl, barely 16 and as beautiful as Guanyin herself. He presented her as a tribute to our king, who became so infatuated with her that he gave her the title Queen Beauty and ennobled the Taoist who brought her as the royal father-in-law. Since then, the king has gorged himself day and night on her, completely ignoring all his other consorts. And now he is physically a wreck, exhausted, emaciated, unable to eat or drink, hovering between life and death. None of the palace doctor's medicines have worked. But the royal father-in-law claims to know a prescription for long life consisting of medicinal herbs gathered from distinct isles, and a terrible supplement. He says that if his medicine is taken with a soup made from the hearts of 1,111 little boys, the king will live for 1,000 years. The children in those coops have all been selected for slaughter. Their parents are too afraid of the king to even weep. Their only outlet for protest is satire, renaming the place to the city of Young Sons. You mustn't mention any of this when you go to court tomorrow. You have your travel documents checked there." The station master then retired for the night, but Tripitaka was left distraught with horror at the king's debauchery and cruelty. "Oh, don't cry over the people's coffins," the pragmatic Pigsy advised him. "Ministers and sons should die if their kings and fathers ask it. It's none of our business if he wants to kill his own subjects. Let's get some sleep." "Where's your compassion?" asked Tripitaka. "This deluded king is planning to eat human hearts to prolong his own life." Well, let's raise the matter with the king tomorrow at court, venerated Sandy, and size up this Talus at the same time. Sandy's right, agreed Monkey. Try to sleep now, and tomorrow I'll go with you to court. If the Taoist is just as foolish as a priest who believes that medicines can make you live forever, I'll put him right. If he turns out to be a demon, I'll destroy him to teach the king a lesson. Either way, I won't allow the king to kill any of those boys. I'm going to whisk them to a safe place out the city this very night. Oh, wonderful, Monkey, exclaimed Tripitaka. But please go now. There's not a moment to lose. After reminding Pigsy and Sandy to take care of Tripitaka, Monkey soared into the air and made a magic sign that summoned the pilgrimage's guardian deities, along with the city god, the local god, the god of the land, and a handful of other immortal administrators. What's the emergency? They asked, bowing and yawning. It's the middle of the night. We have just learned about Biku's cruel king, Monkey explained. He has been duped by a demon who has told him that eating the hearts of little boys will prolong his own life. While we come up with a plan to destroy this fiend, I want you to move the little boys inside their coops to some mountain valley or forest outside the city. I need you to keep them safe, fed, and happy for a day or two. When I've dealt with this demon, brought the king to his senses, and restored order to the kingdom, you can bring the boys back. The obedient spirits had sent into the city, where the temperature suddenly plummeted with freezing fog and wind. While the parents took shelter from the cold, the gale swept up the 1,111 coops and the boys inside. By about midnight, every coop had been scattered outside the city walls. Waking at dawn the next day, Tripitaka immediately dressed for his visit to court. Oh, I'm coming too, Monkey reminded him. You might not be able to manage on your own. But you're not very good with protocol, Tripitaka worried. You might offend the king. I'll go in disguise then. Tripitaka told Pigsy and Sandy to mind the luggage and the horse, and the station master reminded Tripitaka in a whisper not to ask about matters that did not concern him. Then they set off for the court. Tripitaka, resplendent in his brocade robe and gold robe priest's hat, and carrying their travel papers in a silk case, and Monkey transformed into a tiny cricket and perched on top of Tripitaka's hat. As soon as Tripitaka's visit was announced, the king invited him in for an audience, hoping to glean some wisdom from his exotic visitor. On entering the throne room, Tripitaka immediately noticed how torpid and emaciated the king was. He could barely gesture a greeting or finish a sentence. After Tripitaka presented the travel papers, the king tried and failed to focus on them, then listlessly sighed, stamped, and handed them back. Just as the king was about to ask about Tripitaka's quest for the scriptures, an official announced the arrival of the royal father-in-law. Supported by a young eunuch, the king got up from his throne to bow to the new arrival. After rising to his feet, Tripitaka watched an elderly Taoist stride up to the throne. He wore a turban of pale yellow damask, a brown silk cloak patterned with plumes, and a blue braided sash. He grasped a 9-jointed rattan staff carved to resemble a coiled dragon, and his face was jade smooth, his beard long and white, his eyes seemed to burn in their sockets. "The royal father-in-law!" cried the courtiers.
"Divine presence," wheezed the king, still bowing. "We are honored."
After the Taoist lounged on the embroidered couch to the left of the king, Tripitaka stepped forward to bow to him. "Where has this monk come from?" the Taoist asked the king without returning the greeting. The king explained the pilgrimage and the stamping of the travel documents. "The way to the west is long and dark," said the Taoist, yawning. "Why bother?" "Nirvana lies to the west," Tripitaka responded.
"Can the Buddha confer immortality?" the king asked.
"A Buddhist monk," explained Tripitaka, "acquires peace, knowledge, and enlightenment through meditation. He seeks immortality not through elixirs, but through eliminating mortal desires." "Pah!" snorted the Taoist, wagging his finger at Tripitaka. "Meditation gets you nothing but a sore bottom. Your precious nirvana still leaves you a rotting corpse. Taoism's your method if you want to live forever. We collect herbs, dance, clap, and generally milk the energies of heaven and earth, the sun and the moon, yin and yang, fire and water. Taoism is the greatest."
"Taoism is the greatest,"
the king and his courtiers echoed, to Tripitaka's oblivious discomfort. His religion preferences notwithstanding, the king still ordered his catering department to prepare a vegetarian banquet for the pilgrims before they resumed their journey westward. Tripitaka was about to leave the palace when Monkey, now perching on his ear, buzzed. "That Taoist is a demon who has entrapped the king. Go back to the post house. I'll stick around to find out more." While Tripitaka obediently returned to their lodgings, Monkey rooted on a kingfisher screen. The commander of the 5 garrisons stepped forward to make a report.
"Last night, sire, a cold wind blew away the coops containing the boys. All have vanished without a trace." "Heaven is plotting to destroy me," the frightened, angry king told the Taoist. "I've been on the brink of death all these months, and just as we're ready to gouge out those little boys' hearts for your divine prescription at midday today, they've disappeared."
Oh, calm down, your majesties, the Taoist. Heaven has gifted you eternal life.
What?
Asked the confused king. As soon as I walked in, I spotted an ingredient much more effective than the hearts of 1,111 little boys. Those hearts would have enabled you to live only to 1,000. The new supplement I have in mind will sustain you for 10,000 years.
Really?
Repeated the king, even more confused. That Buddhist monk, I saw immediately, has devoted himself to his faith for at least 10 incarnations. He has conserved his masculine essence, his yang, all this time, and is therefore 10,000 times more purely powerful than those little boys. If you wash down my medicine with a broth made from his heart, I guarantee you will live for 10 millennia.
The Dulcis king instantly believed him. Well, why didn't you say so earlier? I could have arrested him just now.
Oh, he won't escape us, the Tao replied silkily. The Buddhists won't leave until they've eaten the meal prepared by the royal catering department. Send out an edict straight away, ordering the closure of all the city gates. Surround the postal station where they're starting with troops, and have them bring back the monk. First, ask him nicely for his heart. Promise him a state funeral in a temple with a guaranteed sacrifice. And if he doesn't agree, just tie him up and gouge his heart out anyway. Child's play. As ever, the king followed his instructions to the letter. Having overheard all of this, Monkey flew back to the postal station where Tripitaka and the others were enjoying their royal feast. Disaster! He exclaimed, suddenly reappearing as Monkey. Tripitaka promptly fainted. Wake up! Urged Sandy, trying to get him upright. Monkey reported everything he'd learned at the postal station was about to be surrounded by soldiers.
You did a good thing rescuing those little boys, concluded Pigsy, but now Tripitaka's going to be in the soup. Literally.
Whatever will we do? Besieged Tripitaka, sweating with fear. If we're going to get out of this fix, considered Monkey, we'll need to swap identities. You'll have to become my disciple for the day. If it can save my life, replied Tripitaka, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. No time to wait, said Monkey. Pigsy, mud! To avoid having to go outside, the soldiers could arrive at any moment. Pigsy pissed on a patch of the dirt floor, stirred it all together, and passed it to Monkey. Monkey molded this unlovely mixture over his face to fashion a mask, then pressed it to Tripitaka's face. With a spell and a mouthful of magic breath, Tripitaka turned into an exact likeness of Monkey. Master and disciple then swapped clothes, and Monkey changed himself into Tripitaka. Even Pigsy and Sandy couldn't tell the difference. Once the exchange of identities was complete, they heard gongs, drums, and saw a force of spears and swords approach. 3,000 of the royal guard had surrounded the postal station. Next, an officer in brocade uniform marched in and ordered the station master to take him to Tripitaka. The king requests another audience, the officer informed. Tripitaka! And manhandled him back to court right after tight guard. There he was deposited before the throne.
I have been ill for a long time, wheedled the king. My royal father-in-law has honored me by drawing up a prescription for which we have all of the ingredients except one, which we need from you. If it cures me of my illness, we will build a temple in your honor, where we will make year-round sacrifices to your spirit.
But I am a poor monk. What could I possibly offer a king?
I want your heart.
Could you be a little more specific? The false Tripitaka responded without missing a beat. I have quite a few of those. What color and shape do you want? We want your black heart, intervened the Taoist, who'd been standing by listening all the while. Oh, good, agreed Tripitaka. Bring me a knife so that I can cut open my chest. If I have a black heart in there, you're more than welcome to it. The delighted king thanked him and obtained from his attendant a curved dagger. Tripitaka then untied his robe and opened his chest with a spectacular ripping sound. A great pile of hearts came tumbling out. All of the officials present, civil and military, paled. He's got a lot of heart, this Buddhist, observed the Taoist dryly. Tripitaka now scooped up the bleeding heap and sorted through it all, full of view of everyone. There was a red heart, a white heart, a yellow heart, an avaricious heart, a greedy heart, an envious heart, a petty heart, a competitive heart, an ambitious heart, a scornful heart, a murderous heart, a vicious heart, a fearful heart, a cautious heart, a depraved heart, a dark, nameless heart, and all manner of evil hearts, but no black heart. The king was stupefied by this performance.
Take them away,
he finally managed to croak out. Unable to control himself any longer, Monkey undid his magic and became his true self again. You're blind, he lectured the king. Buddhist monks have good hearts. Your resident Taoist here is the only one with a black heart. His will do very well for the supplement. Let me cut open his chest straight away to show you. Now recognizing Monkey as the troublemaker who had attained such notoriety in the mortal and immortal world, the Taoist soared into the sky, hotly pursued by Monkey's cloud somersault. Oh, where do you think you're going? Roared Monkey. The Taoist fought back with his coiled dragon staff, and the battle raged above the city, sending its residents fleeing for cover. After about 20 clashes, it became clear that the fiend was no match for Monkey. Vaporizing into a beam of cold light, the Taoist shot into a palace boudoir to sweep up the concubine who he had intoxicated the king, and then both vanished. Now you know what your royal father-in-law is, Monkey told the courtiers returning to the palace. Stop bowing, he barked at them as they prostrated themselves in gratitude. Where's your imbecilic king? He went and hid in the Hall of Prudence before the battle began, reported the officials. Quickly go and find him before those two demons kidnap him. A few moments later, a handful of eunuchs helped the misguided king back into the throne room, and the courtiers explained that Queen Beauty had disappeared along with the royal father-in-law. The king bowed to Monkey. I must say, though, you seem rather different from this morning. You've lost your look somewhat. Monkey laughingly introduced himself and explained the deception, revealing that Tripitaka and the other two disciples were back at the postal station. The grateful king asked the others to be brought to court. Just as Tripitaka was thinking how nice it would be not to wear a mud mask lubricated with pig's urine, he heard a voice outside. The king of Biku wishes to thank you at court. Oh, cheer up, exulted Pigsy. I don't think they want your heart this time. Monkey must have triumphed. But how can I return to the court with this stinky face on me? We'll have to get Monkey's help on that, admitted Pigsy. Heavens above, what a bunch of hard, quivered the courtiers when the three of them emerged into the courtyard. Sandy and I were born like this, Pigsy explained, but our master here will look much better once he's exfoliated. As soon as they entered the throne room, Monkey ran up and with one magic breath restored Tripitaka to his true self. While the king gushed at Tripitaka, Buddha this and Buddha that, Monkey remained focused on the here and now. Do you have that fiend's address? I need to destroy him so that he doesn't come back to make any more trouble. I did ask him that when he first arrived 3 years ago, the embarrassed king replied. He said he was from nearby, the village of Pure Magnificence on Willow Hill, about 70 miles south of here. Oh, and on the subject of missing persons, I was the one who hid the little boys, Monkey told him, smiling, on the compassionate orders of my master. Pigsy, you come with me. Gladly, replied Pigsy, but my stomach's so empty I haven't the strength. Quickly, the king called out to the royal catering department. Pigsy's stomach filled, he and Monkey traveled like clouds some 70 miles south of the city, then landed to look about for the demon. There they found a stream planted densely on both banks with thousands of willows, but no sign of a village of pure magnificence. Monkey promptly made a magic sign and chanted the sacred word Om, which immediately drew out the local spirit, who kneeled trembling before him. The spirit of Willow Hill reporting for duty. Calm down, said Monkey. I'm not here to rough you up. Can you tell me where a village called Pure Magnificence is? It's meant to be around here somewhere. There's not a cave by that name. Not a village. Monkey arguably should have known better than to take direction from the witless king. Am I right that you've come from Biku? The spirit asked next. Yes, Monkey explained the situation in his current project of subduing a fiend last seen as a beam of cold light. Forgive me, exclaimed the spirit, but as we're within the jurisdiction of Biku here, I ought to have protected the king from this demon, but this fiend is so powerful that he would have made my life a misery if I had exposed him earlier, which is why he's been able to make all this mischief. But you can handle him. Go to the willow with 9 forked branches on the southern bank. Walk 3 times clockwise, then 3 times counterclockwise around it. Press your hands against the trunk and say open 3 times, and the cave will appear before you. Monkey and Pigsy hopped through the stream and soon found the tree. After stationing Pigsy about a half mile away, Monkey followed the spirit's instructions, and the tree immediately vanished and a double door creaked open. Dashing in, Monkey discovered a cave with its own spring-like microclimate. It was somehow bathed in both sunlight and moonlight, luxuriant with flowers, moss, and grasses, and fluttering with bees and butterflies. Behind a stone screen, he saw the senior fiend and Queen Beauty in each other's arms. Both were panting hard. 3 years' work, and just as we were going to succeed, that ape came and ruined everything. Hey, you presumptuous demons! Raged Monkey, charging at them. The older fiend immediately let go of the beautiful and grabbed his dragon staff and recommenced battle at the entrance of the cave. How dare you barge into my home? And why did you care about the king of Biku? I'm a Buddhist, Monkey shouted back. How could I stand by while all those little boys were killed? The tumult, which made a frightful mess of the exotic blooms, picturesque lichens, and luminous mists, alerted Pigsy, who joined the fight as soon as Monkey emerged, battling from the cave. Once Pigsy joined in, the fiend lost his nerve, turned back into a ray of cold light, and beamed eastward, hotly pursued by his 2 combatants. When Monkey and Pigsy caught up, they found a venerable immortal, the old star of the South Pole, pinning the beam down. Greetings, you old fathead, Pigsy hailed him. Did you catch our fiend for us? Indeed, but I trust you will both spare his life. Why? Monkey asked. He happens to be a steed of mine, the old star said with a smile, who ran away to pursue a demonic sideline. Sit, he suddenly barked at the light beam, who immediately became a cowering, sniveling white deer. The wretched creature had the nerve to steal my staff, too, muttered the old star, picking up the coiled dragon stave. He hopped onto the deer and was about to leave when Monkey pulled him back. Whoa, 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 whoa. We still need to capture the deer's accomplice, the king's former concubine, then take the pair of them back to that idiot on the throne of Biku so we can see them for what they really are. Monkey and Pigsy rushed back to the cave where the trembling, unarmed girl did not have a chance to escape. Monkey smashed his staff down on her head. Pigsy dealt a second crushing blow, and in an instant, the beauty they had been befuddling the king morphed into a dead white vixen. All right, don't mangle her anymore, Monkey instructed Pigsy. We need the king to see her for what she really was. Pigsy dragged her by the tail out of the cave where the old star was still scolding the deer for his various diabolical escapades. Pausing only to order the local spirit to burn the cave to ashes, Monkey and company returned to the palace of Biku, where they exhibited the two former favorites before the king. Scarlet with embarrassment, the king muttered his thanks, then busied himself ordering the royal catering department to prepare another banquet for the visitors. After taking their seats, Tripitaka and Sandy asked how the old star had allowed his deer to cause so much trouble. Oh, that, the old star replied with a laugh. An immortal neighbor of mine dropped by for a game of chess, and the deer slipped away while we were playing. At this moment, the banquet was served, a magnificent feast of dragon-shaped pastries, duck-shaped cakes, lion-shaped bonbons, and roll-shaped rolls. The brocade-draped tables were covered end to end with enormous chestnuts, leeches, pears, dates, and persimmons. Gold and silver bowls were heaped with fragrant rice. You can have the fruit, Pigsy told Monkey after the toast. I'll handle the rest. He then demolished the entire banquet. When Old Star got up to leave, the king kneeled to beg a cure for his illness. Because I was so focused on escorting my deer, I came without any elixirs. I'd have been delighted to pass a couple of nutritious formulas on to you, but your tendons and spirit have degenerated so much that no alchemy will have any effect. I do, however, have up my sleeve 3 fire dates, which go nicely with tea. You'd be welcome to them. As soon as he ate them, the king felt his sickness lifting. These magic fruits later enabled him to live to a ripe old age. Could I have a few? Pigsy asked. I'm still a bit hungry. Afraid I've run out, Old Star apologized. I'll send on some more when I get home. The immortal then leaped onto the deer and soared off into the clouds. Well, time for us to be on our way too, Tripitaka told his disciples. The king begged them to stay on longer as his counselors. Less luxury, more charity, Tripitaka told him. That's my only advice to you. Although Tripitaka absolutely refused the king's offer of gold and silver to cover their journey onward, the king insisted that he get into the royal carriage and be pushed through the streets and out of the city by the monarch and his courtiers. As the townsfolk came out to watch another howling gale, the work of the friendly local spirits who had previously helped Monkey, deposited by the side of the road 1,111 coops, each containing a wailing little boy. Moments later, their ecstatic parents rushed up, hugging, kissing, and soothing their lost children. Another long one. All right. Chapter 34. We're almost done. After crossing the mountain of hidden mist, the travelers approached another city. Are we nearly there yet? Tripitaka asked Monkey. Even if we're now on the outskirts of India, considered Monkey, we would still be a long way from the Buddhist Thunderclap Monastery on Soul Mountain. Let's find out what this place is. Once through the gates, the travelers found the streets deserted until they eventually came to a busy marketplace, which Pigsy barged through with his snout. Who are you? Where are you from? A handful of constables asked. For fear that his disciples might make trouble, Tripitaka took over the talking, explaining their quest. And what is this place called, I wonder? You've reached Phoenix Immortal, an outer prefecture of India. After several years of drought, the local prefect is advertising for a priest to pray for rain, a constable said, indicating a notice on a building nearby, which the pilgrims crowded around to read. Quote, our wells and rivers are dry, our people are starving and forced to sell or abandon their children. The prefect of Phoenix Immortal in the great kingdom of India therefore seeks a master of religion to bring down the rain. Can you have any help? Tripitaka asked his disciples. I can conjure the odd weather effects, said Monkey. Overturning rivers, stirring up seas, changing the course of stars, belching fog and clouds, hunting down the moon while carrying a mountain, summoning wind and rain. Nothing spectacular. The delighted officials informed their prefect, who warmly invited the travelers to his official residence, where he served them tea and a meal that Pigsy ate with terrifying, tigerish abandon, while their waiters scurried back and forth with soup and rice. When Pigsy was finally full, the prefect told his sorry tale. 3 years of drought had killed 2/3 of the population. The remaining third was weak with starvation. I've heard enough, said Monkey. Will you look after Tripitaka while I execute my plan? Speaking of which, Sandy interjected, what is your plan, Monkey? Oh, easy. You two stand by while I summon a dragon to make some rain. The prefect, meanwhile, burned some incense, and Tripitaka kept himself busy reciting a sutra. After a magic spell from Monkey, a dark cloud rose up from the east and landed gently in the courtyard, becoming Ao Guang, the Dragon King of the Eastern Ocean.
What can I do for you, Monkey?
I wanted to know why you're refusing to provide rain to this prefecture for several years.
May I respectfully remind you that although I am technically in charge of rainmaking, I can't make it happen without heavenly authorization. It's more than my job's worth.
That is a lame excuse, Monkey complained.
Look, exclaimed the Dragon King, heaven's not approved it, and in any case, I didn't bring my team of rainmakers with me. How about this? I'll go rally the troops while you apply for rain permits from heaven. When the Jade Emperor signs off on it, you'll get every single specified drop.
Unable to find a reasonable counter-argument, Monkey let Ao Guang return to the ocean and told his fellow pilgrims that he had to make a trip to heaven. In a single cloud somersault, Monkey was on the west gate.
Afternoon, Monkey, the dude of patrol greeted him. Got those scriptures yet?
Any day now, answered Monkey. Thing is, we've just reached Phoenix Immortal in India. There's been no rain for 3 years and the people are starving. I asked the Dragon King to do what's necessary, but he told me he had to sort out some paperwork with the Jade Emperor first. He then barged into the antechamber to the throne room.
What are you doing here? Asked the 4 heavenly preceptors, barring his way.
Monkey explained his mission, to recruit rain for Phoenix Immortal. The preceptors glanced perfunctorily down at their golden tablets, then back up at Monkey. Heaven says no. Let me see the Jade Emperor, Monkey insisted. I'll talk him around. Sighing at the boldness of the creature, the preceptors showed him in. While on a tour of heaven and earth 3 years ago, pronounced the Jade Emperor, we saw the perfect knockover, a table of offerings, and fed him to his dogs while uttering obscenities. As punishment, we created 3 impossible challenges in the hall draped with fragrance. Take Monkey to see them. Only when these have been completed will we grant the perfect rain. Otherwise, he should put up and shut up. The poor preceptors led Monkey into the hall in question, where he found a 100-foot rice pyramid and 200-foot needle mountain. A chicken no bigger than a human fist pecked at the rice with very little commitment, while a Pekingese lapped lackadaisically at the noodles. To one side, a golden lock, some 15 inches long, was suspended over a tiny flame, which was barely singeing the lock's very substantial key. Okay, what is all this? Monkey said. Well, after the prefect's transgression against heaven, the preceptors explained, the Jade Emperor ruled that there will be no rain until the chicken has pecked all the rice, the dog has lapped up all the noodles, and the flame has burned through the lock. Even Monkey paled at the size of the task and exited the hall, too crestfallen to press the Jade Emperor again. Well, take heart, the preceptors comforted him. Virtue will overcome those challenges and melt heaven's anger. Monkey Cloud traveled back to India to confront the prefect. Well, I got news for you, sir. You are the cause for your people's suffering. 3 years ago, you fed offerings to heaven to your dogs. What were you thinking? The prefect instantly kneeled before him. It's true. That day, I'd had an argument with my wife. She started it, and in a fury, I smashed the offerings to the floor and let the dogs eat them up. I felt terrible about it ever since, and now heaven is punishing my people for it. Well, the Jade Emperor has established 3 monuments to your crime, Monkey told him, evoking the 2 starchy mountains and the lethargic consumers, and the lock, all of which needed to be vanquished before rain would return. Pigsy's eyes lit up, for this was his favorite kind of impossible challenge. Oh, leave it to me. I'll polish off all the rice and noodles in a single sitting, smash the lock, and there's your rain. No, Pigsy, Monkey chided him. This is heavenly retribution. You can't eat or bash it into submission. Then what can we do? The still kneeling prefect asked. It's actually quite straightforward, said Monkey. We just need some serious piety. You must all worship and recite scriptures like there's no tomorrow. Otherwise, there is no tomorrow. The prefect ordered Buddhists and Taoist clerics to conduct services for 3 days, then write and post detailed reports of the proceedings to heaven by burning them. Every household in the city was ordered to burn incense and chant the Buddha's name, and soon the city was a chorus of virtue. You two keep an eye on Tripitaka, Monkey told Pigsy and Sandy. I'm going to report back to the Jade Emperor about Phoenix Immortal's Festival of Piety. As Monkey approached the gate to heaven, he encountered a courier with an armful of Phoenix Immortal's religious reports. Good work, Monkey, the courtier saluted him. I'm just off to present these to the Jade Emperor right now. You can go straight to the Department of Seasons and book the Thunder Gods. Once you're done their bit, rain will quickly follow. Monkey redirected his cloud to the specified bureau, where the divinity on reception announced the visitor to their minister, who hurried out from behind a 9 Phoenix Cinnabar screen. How can I help you, Monkey? Monkey explained his mission to request thunder for Phoenix Immortal. Is that authorized? The celestial being inquired. I understand that 3 conditions have to be met first. I know, but the 4 heavenly preceptors have told me that the prefect would expatiate the offerings through religious devotion. The inhabitants of the city have been ostensibly holy for the past 3 days, and a courier has just delivered their documents of repentance to the Jade Emperor. Well, in that case, replied the minister, the 4 Thunder Dukes and the Dame of Lightnings are yours for the day. In the sky above Phoenix Immortal, Monkey conducted the dignitaries as they generated flashes of purple gold light and deafening peals of thunder. The locals, who had not seen anything like this for 3 long years, fell to their knees and cried out to the Buddha. While Monkey conducted this display, the courtier delivered the piety reports to the throne room. "And what of the 3 impossible challenges?" the Jade Emperor now asked. "The rice noodles have vanished," a minion from the hall draped with fragrance reported, "and the lock is broken." "Very well. I hereby order the departments of wind, cloud, and rain to release 3 feet and 42 drops of rain." Once the 4 heavenly preceptors had liaised with the department in question, the magic bureaucracy released a torrent over Phoenix Immortal. It was as if whole rivers and seas were pouring from the sky. The streets ran with water, dying plants and trees revived. After every single drop of the allocated rain had fallen, Monkey choreographed a round of thanks to the thunder, lightning, and rain spirits. "Step out of the clouds and reveal yourselves," he told the divine administrators, "so that they all will lavish you with sacrifices." The clouds parted to reveal the silver-bearded Dragon King, the beaked Thunder God, the jade-faced Cloud Boy, and the bouffant-eyebrowed Earl of Wind. After the deities had received the adulation of the crowds below for a couple hours, Monkey dismissed them all back to heaven. Thank you for coming. I'll make sure these mortals keep up the worship. In return, be certain to give them rain every 10 days. Don't forget, if you want no sacrifices." The gods scattered, and Monkey returned to Earth. "All right, work here's done," Monkey told Tripitaka. "Time to pack up and move on." The people of the prefecture tried to shower the pilgrims with money and gifts, all of which were declined. A huge farewell party, with banners, streams, and drums, gathered to send the pilgrims off. The locals followed them for 30 miles before regretfully letting them go. After watching the pilgrims disappear into the horizon, they tearfully returned to their homes. "Well," Tripitaka said to Monkey as they walked along, "this time you've really outdone yourself in compassion. What you did there was even more impressive than in Biku." "At Biku," Sandy chimed in, "you saved 1,111 little boys. But in Phoenix Immortal, you saved hundreds and thousands of people from starvation. Hurrah for Monkey's merciful magic!"
"Oh yes, good show, Monkey," snarked Bigsy. "So how about you showering my feet some mercy? You've already traded on my toes. Or are you making sure I'm the one who gets tired and scrubbed for the streamer so that you can play the hero? Or you could at least have let us stay in Phoenix Immortal for a few months so that I could get a square meal or 2 under my belt. I'm wasting away here, but no, Monkey had to hurry us out of there."
"Do you ever think about anything except your stomach?" snapped Tripitaka. "Get a move on and don't talk back." Muttering to himself, Pigsy trudged on. And that's the end of that chapter. We are very close now, guys. We've only got how many pages left? We're on 322. All right, 322, 8. We got 17 more pages. We're almost there. Let me get my charger for my tablet because I can't read chat otherwise. All right. Let me get something to drink real quick. All right. Whew. Chapter 35. The landscape was now covered with gem-like flowers, jade-like grasses, ancient cypresses, and emerald pines. Everyone they met hummed sutras as they walked and lavished the pilgrims with food. After another week's travel, a vertiginous complex of towers and pavilions rose up before them. "For the last 14 years, Monkey told Tripitaka, you've been asking how much farther. Now we've reached the Buddha's western heaven, and you don't even get off your horse." The startled Tripitaka tumbled to the ground as quickly as he could. As the compound gate, the pilgrims were met by a young Taoist gatekeeper, a boy of exceptional beauty dressed in a brocade robe. "Are you the scripture seekers from the east?" While Tripitaka brushed the dust off the journey off of his robe, Monkey made introductions. "This is Great Goldenhead, custodian of Jade Truth Taoist Temple at the foot of Soul Mountain." The boy laughed. "That Guan Yin has a very loose notion of time. Much longer than a decade ago, she told me to expect you in a couple of years. We meet at last." Tripitaka bowed and thanked Great Goldhead for his patience. The 4 pilgrims entered the temple and took a tea and a meal, while the spirit asked his underlings to heat some scented water so that the pilgrims could bathe before meeting the Buddha. After a night's rest in the temple, Tripitaka changed into his patchwork brocade robe and Vairocana hat, picked up his staff, and took leave of his immortal host. You seem almost a different person from the ragged traveler of yesterday, said Great Golden Head with a smile. Today you resemble a true son of the Buddha. Let me show you where to go from here. No need, said Monkey. I know my way through Thunderclap. You know the way through the clouds, but our wise monk here still can't fly. You must stick to the road. Great Golden Head took Tripitaka by the hand and led him up the temple's back door, behind which lay Soul Mountain. Do you see a place halfway up to heaven, shrouded in auspicious light and hallowed mist? This is the spirit home of the Buddha. Tripitaka began bowing at the very sight of it. Save your energy, Monkey advised, laughing. We've a good way to go still. If you insist on kowtowing all the way there, you'll give yourself a terrible headache. Led by Monkey, the pilgrims climbed slowly up until they encountered a fast-flowing river, some 8 miles wide in an apparent deserted landscape. This can't be the right way. There's no boat to take us across, Tripitaka objected. You see that bridge over there? Said Monkey. It will take us to the other side. Approaching the bridge, Tripitaka read the inscription on the tablet next to it, crossing to the clouds. The bridge itself was a single, narrow, slippery log through along with rainbows. He began shaking like jelly. It's impossible. We have to find another way. Stay here, Monkey instructed. I'll show you how it's done. In one bound, he was across. Come on, he shouted from the other side. Tripitaka, Pigsy, and Sandy flatly refused to move. Monkey hopped back over and tugged at Pigsy, who hurled himself at the ground in protest. I can't do it. I'll hitch a lift on some passing mist. You can't cheat with cloud travel in a place like this unless you walk across the bridge. You'll never become a Buddha. No skin off my snout. I like being a pig. While the two of them pushed and tugged at each other, Tripitaka spotted a boat further down the river. Over here, he cried. As the boat approached them on the bank, the pilgrims saw that it had no base. Monkey immediately realized that its pilot was the guiding Buddha, but he said nothing to the others. How can we cross in a bottomless boat? Panicked Tripitaka. This boat is immune to wind, waves, and time, the boatman informed him. It has no end and no beginning, and carries its passengers to eternal peace and joy. Oh, well, sounds perfect, said Monkey. Hop on, everyone. When Tripitaka continued to hesitate, Monkey gave him a good shove. The Buddhist master promptly fell into the river. The boatman quickly fished him out, and the religious master stood on one side of the boat, wringing his clothes out, stamping his shoes, and grumbling at Monkey, who was busy helping Sandy and Pigsy get the horse and luggage on the boat. As soon as the boatman began gently pushing into the river, a corpse floated past. Monkey smiled at terror-stricken Tripitaka. Don't be afraid. It's you. So it is, Pigsy and Sandy exclaimed, clapping their hands. Congratulations, added the boatman. They were soon safely across, and Tripitaka skipped lightly onto the bank. They had truly reached the other side. Breaking free of their mortal senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought, the boat and its pilot vanished. The four of them sprang up Soul Mountain. Soon Thunderclap Monastery came into view. Its agate brick, golden-tiled turrets rose up out of the cliffs, scented with orchids. Divine apes picked peaches in its orchards. White cranes perched on pine branches. Phoenixes swooped and pirouetted amid palisades, pavilions, and towers. Practically dancing with excitement, Tripitaka approached the monastery gate, where he was stopped and asked for his credentials by the Buddha's 4 guardian kings.
Wait here while we announce you.
Delighted to learn that the pilgrims had finally arrived, the Buddha mobilized his full complement of deities, the 8 bodhisattvas, the 4 guardian kings, the 500 arhats, the 3,000 protectors, the 11 great orbs, and the 18 custodians of monasteries, to line up in 2 columns to greet the travelers, then issued to Tripitaka a golden decree of summons, which was passed back from gate to gate, eventually reaching the pilgrims at the front entrance. The pilgrims prostrated themselves 3 times before the Buddha in the great hero hall, and then to his attendants to the left and the right. They showed their travel papers to the Buddha, who examined them carefully. The great Emperor of the Tang commanded me to beg you for the scriptures of salvation, Tripitaka said. Please grant this wish so that I may return to my country as soon as possible. The Buddha opened his merciful mouth of mercy. Due to the size, fertility, wealth, and populousness of your country, it is rife with greed, violence, licentiousness, bullying, and trickery. Your people do not follow the Buddha's teachings or cultivate good karma. They are disloyal, unfilial, mendacious, immoral, unkind, and cruel. Due to their thoroughgoing wickedness, after death your people are banished to the darkness of hell, where they are pounded, pestled, pounded some more, then reincarnated as beasts, mostly of the furred and horned variety, so that they can repay their debts to their society in their next existence by becoming food for others. In some, for the above reasons, they are condemned to eternal perdition in my Buddhist hell, with no hope of deliverance. Your Confucius preached benevolence, righteousness, ritual, and wisdom. Generations of your rulers have devised all kinds of punishments, imprisonment, banishment, hanging, beheading, to police the conduct of your people. None of this has managed to curb the foolish, the blind, and the reckless. But I have here 3 baskets of scriptures. 15,144 scrolls in total. They can release mortals from vexations, calamities, and transgressions. One set speaks of heaven, one of earth, the third redeems the damned. The path to virtue and immortality, they cover astronomy, geography, biography, birds, beasts, flowers, trees, tools, and human affairs across the 4 continents of the world. Given how far you've traveled, I'd love to give you the entire set, but unfortunately, your compatriots are just too stupid to appreciate them. The Buddha now called the 2 of his attendants. Take our 4 pilgrims here to the pavilion of treasures and give them something to eat. Then choose a few scrolls for them to take back to the east as a token of our compassion. In the pavilion of treasures, the travelers fell upon an extraordinary immortal feast of strange food and fragrant tea. Then the 2 attendants led them up to the manuscript room and showed them cases and jeweled chests, all marked with red labels on which the titles of the different sutras and the number of scrolls were written in neat, regular script. At this point, the conversation took a businesslike turn. So, what treats did you bring us from China? The guides quizzed the travelers. Hand them over and you'll get your scriptures. We didn't bring any, explained a nonplussed Tripitaka. It was such a big journey. Hilarious, guffawed the Buddha's honored attendants. If we gave out the scriptures for free, our descendants would starve to death. Their finagling, enraged monkey. I'm gonna tell you over to the Buddha. He'll get you to cough them up. Shut up, sent one of the attendants. All right, come and get your scriptures. Controlling their irritation and monkey, Pigsy and Sandy loaded the horse with scrolls, then piled the rest on the carrying poles. The pilgrims kowtowed their thanks to the Buddha, then set off back down the mountain. Back in the pavilion of treasures, the Buddha of the archive had heard and seen everything, including the fact that those 2 attendants had given the pilgrims the wordless version of the scripture scrolls. Most Chinese priests, he thought smiling, are so benighted that they won't understand the value of wordless scripture, and all the efforts of the pilgrimage will be wasted. He called the duty librarian over. Use your magic to catch up with Tripitaka. Get the wordless scriptures off of him so that he comes back for the written versions. Hurry. The librarian swept out the monastery complex on a gale that scattered the complex's apes, cranes, and phoenixes and snapped pines and bamboos. As this fragrant wind churned around Tripitaka, he assumed it was just an auspicious omen from the Buddha, so he was caught completely unawares when a hand reached down and snatched all the scriptures from the horse's back. Tripitaka yelped in terror. Pigsy rolled on the ground, and Sandy stood frozen in spot. It was left to Monkey to chase the larcenous hand into the air. Spotting Monkey closing in, the emissary feared a blow from that infamous staff. He therefore ripped open the bags of scriptures and scattered their contents over the dusty ground. Monkey immediately abandoned his pursuit and returned to earth to retrieve them. Pigsy and Monkey gathered the scattered scriptures and brought them back to the weeping Tripitaka. "Oh, disciples," Tripitaka wailed, "we are still persecuted by demons, even in the land of ultimate bliss." To check for damage, Sandy unrolled one of the scriptures that his 2 disciples were clutching to their chests and discovered that it was completely blank. He showed her Tripitaka. "What can this mean?" he asked. Monkey opened another again, perfectly blank. They unrolled every single one. All were blank. "How can I take these back to the Emperor? He would have my head for this insult." "Just because we didn't have any presents for those attendants," Monkey deduced. "They've given us blank scrolls. Let's go straight back to the Buddha and accuse them of extortion and fraud. Twice the fun." The 4 of them slogged back up the mountain. They soon found themselves at the temple gates again. "Exchange or return?" the laughing attendants asked, ushering the 4 of them back into the great hero hall, where Monkey proceeded to tear into the Buddha. "Do you have any idea what we've been through the past 14 years? And then your servants demand a bribe, and when we refuse, conned us with blank scrolls? I demand satisfaction." "Calm down," the Buddha said with a chuckle. "I knew perfectly well that those 2 would ask for a token of your esteem. You don't get something for nothing, you know, and certainly not scriptures of salvation. Not so long ago, a number of our priests recited scriptures to a human family to protect them from danger and help their dead escape hell, but they asked for only 3 pecks and 3 pints of rice in payment. I told them they'd undersold themselves and that they'd as good as given away the family fortune. So this time around, when you refused to come up with the goods, they gave you blank scrolls. Actually, these blank scrolls are just as good and true as written ones, but seeing as you creatures from the east are too dim to see it, I suppose I'd better give you the ones with writing on them." He now turned once more to the original 2 attendants. "Select for them a few written scrolls." Back the attendants and disciples went to the pavilion, again the former demanding a gift. This time Tripitaka asked Sandy to dig out the purple golden alms bowl, which he then presented with both hands. "Due to our poverty and the length of our journey, we were unable to prepare any presents, but please accept as a token of our gratitude this alms bowl that the Tang Emperor gave us to beg for food along the way. When we return to the Tang court with the 3 teachings, the Emperor will be sure to reward you richly. Only this time do give us the written versions." One of the attendants smiled gently and took the bowl. The various orderlies in the pavilion began sniggering and nudging one another. Outrageous! Imagine asking scripture seekers for a bribe! The rapacious attendants now began to look rather embarrassed, but not enough to relinquish the bowl. One of them set to digging out scrolls, which they passed to Tripitaka. Check every one, Tripitaka instructed his disciples. We don't want a repeat of last time. Every single one, 5,048 in total, a full canon, contained writing. Tripitaka and his disciples returned to bow before the Buddha. These scriptures are priceless, the Buddha informed them. After you deliver them to China, no one should touch them without fasting and bathing first. Worship them. They contain the mysteries of immortality, the way in myriad transformations. Once more, Tripitaka set off down the mountain. After the pilgrims left, Guanyin stepped forward. 14 years ago, you ordered me to find a seeker of scriptures in the East. Today, after 5,040 days, he has completed the pilgrimage, just 8 days short of the perfect canonical number of 5,048. May we consider my mission accomplished? You have done well, replied the Buddha, then turned to 8 warrior attendants. Use your magic to carry Tripitaka back to the East. As soon as he's delivered the scriptures, bring him back here. You have 8 days to accomplish this. To ensure the pilgrimage takes exactly 5,048 days. Do not be late. The attendants swept the pilgrims into the clouds, and all hurried eastward, buoyant with enlightenment. And that was chapter 35. Before we read the last chapter, I need to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Hope you're all still enjoying. All right, I'm back. Let's see. Last chapter. Let's do this. Okay. Want to know something really ironic, guys? I don't know if the author intended this when writing this abridged version. It's kind of funny. The Buddha wants to make sure that the journey takes exactly 8 days to finish. So he tells his warriors, make sure that it takes them 8 days to get back and 8 days to get back here so that it can make a perfect 5,048 days, right? We're on the last chapter, and there are only 8 pages in the last chapter. Is that not crazy? All right, let's read this. Guanyin now held a summit at the gates to Thunderclap with the spirits she had deputized to escort the pilgrims. You ordered us to protect Tripitaka on his journey to the west, they said to her. Now that he has reached his destination, may we be discharged. Of course, she agreed happily. And how did the pilgrims behave on their journey? With great dedication and determination, answered the deities, through appalling trials, all catalogued here. They now handed over a dossier of calamities which Guanyin perused. Every single unfortunate event was listed, from the tragedy of Tripitaka's parents to acquiring the 3 disciples, being captured multiple times, abducted by wind, tied up, impregnated, and married, as well as coming very close to being lacquered, minced, sautéed, steamed, pickled, cured, liquefied, and mated with various fiends. But Buddhist immortality can be attained only through 9 times 9, fretted Bodhisattva. Tripitaka here has undergone just 80 ordeals. He's one short. She now turned to one of her subordinates. Go after the Buddha's escorts and create one more tournament, fast as you can. After 1 day and night of express cloud traveling, the envoy caught up and whispered some urgent instructions to the Buddha's chaperones, who smartly turned off the wind that they had been carrying the pilgrims and the 4 of them, plus the horse and the scriptures, instantly falling to the ground, for immortality is a stickler for arithmetic. Tripitaka was terrified with the return to the profane ground, but the disciples seemed to find it hilarious. More haste, less speed, Pigsy trolled nonsensically. Sit on one beach for 10 days and cross 9 in a day, Monkey added, as the proverb says. Oh, shut up, both of you, snapped Tripitaka. Where are we? I recognize this place, said Sandy, looking about them. Can you hear water? Monkey now jumped to the air and got an aerial view. Yes, we're on the west bank of the river to heaven, he reported. I remember, said Tripitaka. Last time we were carried across by an ancient white turtle, but what shall we do this time? Well, the Buddha said the Chinese were liars and cheats, harumphed Pigsy, no longer seeing the funny side. Well, I'm not too impressed with his people either. They were meant to take us all the way back to the Tang Empire. Why have they dumped us here in the middle of nowhere? Oh, stop whining, said Sandy. Now that Tripitaka has shed his mortal form, he won't sink in the water. Let's use our magic to carry him across. Monkey, however, knew that Tripitaka was one short of the sacred number of 9 times 9 ordeals, and that was why they were marooned on this riverbank. It won't work, he told the others. As they argued back and forth, a voice called out to them. Over here! The disciples now saw on otherwise deserted bank a large white turtle poking its neck out of the water. What took you so long, Tripitaka? Well, you're a sight for sore eyes, turtle! Monkey hailed him with a grin. Will you help us across again? The turtle crawled out of the river, and Monkey told the others to get onto its back. As before, Monkey balanced one foot on the turtle's head and the other on its neck. Off you go, turtle. Steady now. Once again, the elderly turtle stretched out its legs and glided through the water as if on a flat ground, carrying the 4 disciples and the horse towards the eastern shore. On they went until, approaching the east bank their afternoon, the turtle spoke again. When I carried you across the river all those years ago, I begged you to ask the Buddha when I would be permitted to take human form. I wonder what he said. Now Tripitaka, upon reaching the western heaven, had been very taken up with a bathing in fragrant water, feasting on divine delicacies, shedding his mortal form, meeting the Buddha, and the like. Of course, he hadn't asked how the turtle would become human. He dared not lie, choosing instead to be economical with the truth. He fell silent. Instantly understanding what had happened, the turtle shook all of its passengers onto the river and dived down out of sight. It was just well that Tripitaka had finally cast off his mortal body, otherwise he would have sunk straight to the bottom. Pigsy, Sandy, and the horse, formerly a dragon, were of course perfectly at home in the water. A laughing monkey, meanwhile, hauled Tripitaka out of the water and deposited him on the east bank. But clothes, scripture, saddle, and bridle were soaked. With the sun still high in the sky, the pilgrims spread out the scripture to dry on some nearby boulders. To Tripitaka's dismay, when they tried to repack them, the scrolls of one sutra had struck to the rocks and had to be torn off. For this reason, the sutra today remains incomplete, and the text can still be read on the boulder in which the scrolls were dried. We should have been more careful, tutted Tripitaka. Well, nothing's perfect, Monkey said, laughing. Not even heaven and earth. Now the sutra suits the flawed nature of the cosmos. They stopped briefly for a meal at a monastery, where Pigsy complained that losing his mortal frame had quite taken away his appetite, but he still managed to put away 9 dishes and 20 to 30 steamed buns. Just as the pilgrims were searching for the road to the east, the Buddha's attendants called out to them from midair. Follow us! Tripitaka and the others rose weightlessly up to the second magic wind that the Buddha attendants had generated. In a matter of hours, Chang'an came into view. That day, the emperor happened to climbed up to the Scripture Anticipation Tower that he had built more than 10 years previously. From this vantage point, he immediately noticed something unusual: fragrant winds and an auspicious haze emanating from the west. We've reached our destination, the Buddhist attendants told Tripitaka, still in the air. But as the locals are actually quite intelligent, we fear they might recognize us. So if we escort you to Earth, probably best if we go down alone. Deliver the scriptures and meet us back here, and we'll return together to the Buddha. Well, Tripitaka can't manage all those bags and the horse on his own, objected Monkey. We'll escort him down, then bring him back. The Buddha said that the whole trip should take no more than 8 days, roared one of the attendants. We've been gone more than 4 already, and we're afraid that once Pigsy gets a sniff of the delights of the Tang Empire, we'll never get him back to Nirvana in time. Rude, Pigsy laughed. I'm up for imminent promotion to Buddhahood. Why would I want to linger in the mortal world? Wait for us here, and I'll be back before you know it to get canonized. The pilgrims and their horses landed their cloud next to the Scripture Anticipation Tower, and the emperor and his officials immediately came down to receive them. Tripitaka prostrated himself, but the emperor personally raised him up. And who are these people with you? The emperor asked. The disciples that I acquired along the way, Tripitaka replied. The group made a triumphant entry into the city. Soon the capital buzzed with the news of Tripitaka's return. The monks at the Temple of Imminent Blessings, Tripitaka's old place in Chang'an, guessed the news through around the channel. On the day of Tripitaka's homecoming, they noticed that the pines by the temple gate were pointed eastward. Strange, they cried. There was no wind last night strong enough to bend the tops of the trees. Put on your best robes, exclaimed one of Tripitaka's former disciples with a retentive memory. Tripitaka is back. They hurried back into the city streets, where the news of Tripitaka's return was confirmed by passerby. The monks ran to catch up with the emperor's cortege and followed to the gate of the court, where Tripitaka went in and presented the scriptures to the emperor. How many are there? Tai Zong wanted to know. And how did you acquire them? Tripitaka began at the end, with the demands of the Buddha's attendants, the haggling over the great rate for the scripture handover, and the subsequent sacrifice of the purple gold bedding bowl. In return, received a full canon of scriptures, 5,048 scrolls. The delighted emperor promptly ordered the imperial catering department to prepare a banquet. Only then did he notice how unusual looking Tripitaka's disciples were. "Are they foreigners?" he asked. Tripitaka now introduced them properly. First there was Monkey, the bringer of mischief of 500 years past, now a devout Buddhist. His protection was invaluable on the journey. Next came Pigsy, once a committed fiend from Tibet, subsequently converted by Guan Yin and subdued by Monkey. He carried the luggage and helped us cross rivers. Then Sandy, who repented of his cannibalistic ways of the river of flowing sand. Finally, Tripitaka explained that, although it looked identical, the horse was not the one the emperor had originally given him. "When we tried to cross the brook of Eagle Sorrow and Serpent's Coil Mountain, your horse was eaten by this horse. Except at the time, the horse was the princeling son of the Dragon King of the Western Ocean. He would have been executed for setting fire to some pearls, but for the intervention of Guan Yin, who changed him into a horse identical to the one he had eaten. He carried me over the most treacherous, precipitous terrain and brought the scriptures back to Chang'an." Taking all this in stride, Taizong asked how long the journey to the west was. Guan Yin told us it was 108,000 miles. I did not record the distance as I went along, but I knew we traveled through 14 winters and 14 summers. Every day we crossed mountains, forests, and vast, wide rivers. We passed through many kingdoms whose rulers stamped and signed our travel papers. Tripitaka asked his disciples to present their documents to the emperor, who studied the seals of the faraway kingdoms through which the pilgrims had traveled. Precious Image, Cart Slow, Western Liang, Bhikkhu, and many others. Finally, the documents away, the emperor led Tripitaka by the hand to the banquet. "How are your disciples' table manners?" Tripitaka tried to answer diplomatically. "They all started out as fiends in the wilderness. Some imperial forbearance might be necessary." The emperor just smiled. "To the feast!" Gazing around the banquet hall, the pilgrims appreciated how great China truly was and how mediocre the kingdoms of the West were by comparison. The doorway was draped with embroidered brocade, the floor cushioned with red carpets, exotic incense whirled about them as they were served extraordinary delicacies on gold and jade patterns, sweet mushrooms, exotic seaweeds, sugar-coated taros, gingering bamboo, peppered radishes, shredded mushroom melon, steamed breads, and honeyed pastries. There were heaps of walnut, persimmons, leeches, chestnuts, dates, rabbit-eared pears, pine nuts, lotus seeds, giant grapes, crab apples, plums, strawberries. Every species of fruit, seed, and nut from all parts of the empire were represented. Crystal goblets and amber cups brimmed with wine and fragrant teas. And after a day of celebration, the pilgrim paid it a visit to the Temple of Eminent Blessings, where Pigsley distinguished himself by not demanding refreshments or indeed making any kind of mischief. Monkey and Sandy also behaved themselves, for achieving Buddhist enlightenment had brought them inner peace. And at court the following morning, Tripitaka asked the emperor to make copies of the scriptures to distribute throughout the empire so that the precious originals could be preserved. The emperor then requested Tripitaka to recite the Buddha's words. "We must go first to a place of worship," Tripitaka declared. "A palace is no place to speak the holy texts." The emperor orders officials to carry the scrolls to the holiest temple in the empire, the Wild Goose Pagoda. There, Tripitaka clambered onto a dais and was about to begin his oration when a fragrant wind rose up. "Drop the scrolls and follow us back to the west," cried the Buddha's timekeeping attendant from above. All the pilgrims, including the horse, floated to the air and soared westward. The startled Taizong and his officials bowed to the sky and pledged to circulate the text that Tripitaka had traveled so far to obtain. They selected priests to convene a mass in the Wild Goose Pagoda temple, the priests reading scriptures to deliver the damned and celebrate the virtuous. And so the Buddha's attendants and the pilgrims completed their round trip within the stipulated 8 days. And on returning to Seoul Mountain, they were immediately ushered back to the Great Hero Hall and given jobs in the Thunderclap administration. The Buddha turned first to Tripitaka. "In a previous incarnation, you were my second favorite disciple, but because you didn't pay attention in one of my lectures, I demoted you to a reincarnation in the East. Fortunately, you kept the faith by undertaking a journey of 108,000 miles to bring Buddhist teachings back to China. I therefore appoint you Sandalwood Buddha. Now, Monkey, we didn't get off to the best of starts, what with your urinating on my hand and my pinning you beneath the Five Faces Mountain for 500 years. Since then, however, you have embraced my teachings and truly distinguished yourself in defeating demons. For your unwavering loyalty, I appoint you Buddha victorious in struggle. Pigsy, you were once a water god of the heavenly river, banished to the mortal world and reincarnated as a pig after you got drunk and propositioned the moon goddess. Fortunately, you converted to Buddhism and protected Tripitaka on his journey here. Unfortunately, you remain susceptible to greed and lust. Nonetheless, in recognition of your service carrying the bags, I'm still going to give you a job. Altar service attendant."
"What?" spluttered Pixie. "They're both Buddhas. How come I'm a rotten service attendant?"
"Because you're still lazy and talk back and retain an enormous appetite. Think about it. You'll get to clean up the offerings whenever there are Buddhist services anywhere in the world. Now, Sandy, you were the great general of curtain drawing. Because you smashed a crystal cup during the great grand festival of immortal peaches, you were banished to the river of flowering sand, where you compounded your sin by eating humans. Fortunately, you embraced our teachings and helped Tripitaka by leading the horse on the pilgrimage. I therefore appoint you golden-bodied Arat." The Buddha finally turned to the horse. "You were once the dragon prince of the Western Ocean until your father had you condemned to death for disobedience. But because you obeyed our teachings and carried Tripitaka on the journey to the west, and then the scriptures back to the east, I hereby promote you to heavenly dragon of the order of 8 supernatural beasts." Once the pilgrims had kowtowed their thanks to the Buddha, the horse was pushed into his dragon-transforming pool behind Soul Mountain, where it instantly shed its coat and grew horns, golden scales, and silver whiskers. Swathed in auspicious air and clouds, it soared out of the pool and roosted on one of the pillars supporting heaven. Monkey turned to Tripitaka. "Well, seeing as I'm a Buddha now, can't I smash that hoop stick on my head? I don't want that so-called Bodhisattva to use to play tricks on me or anyone else." Tripitaka smiled. "We needed the hoop only because there was no other way of bringing you to heal. But now that you've become a Buddha, it's disappeared off its own accord. Feel for yourself." Touching his head, Monkey discovered that the hoop had indeed vanished. The newly promoted pilgrims joined with all the other divinities of Soul Mountain in chanting their praise of every Buddha and Bodhisattva, including the Buddha victorious in struggle, and all the way down to the altar service attendant, the golden-bodied Arat, and the heavenly dragon of the order of 8 supernatural beasts. "We dedicate ourselves," the heavenly chorus finished, "to the pure land of the Buddha, to repay compassion from above and to save those below. Those who see and hear will be reborn and enlightened in the land of ultimate bliss." And here ends the journey to the West. And that is the end of the book. So now you know the abridged version of Journey to the West. What a story. You know, there's a lot you can take from that story. And I'm not talking about theological teachings. I mean, even the book itself is pretty interesting on how it deals in theological teachings. Like, for example, you notice that the Buddha himself is kind of a jackass, too. Like, for example, him basically saying that the people of China are too stupid to understand the wordless scrolls and still demanding something for them, even though he asked them to come and get it. So the writer is kind of mocking both Taoism and Buddhism at the same time, though it definitely leans more on Buddhism. But notice changes in certain characters, particularly with Monkey. Did you notice that? That's one of the things that I think is so unique about the story. If you start off the story, you read about Monkey and Sun Wukong and how he behaves and how crazy and wild he is, how he isn't willing to do what Tripitaka says, how he gets angry and violence is always his first action. But then by the end of the story, violence is always his last action. He always tries to find a diplomatic route. He's actually, like, think about it like this. At the very beginning, he basically grabs people when he wants information and demands it from them. But then by the end, he's even bowing to Bull Demon King and basically saying, "Hey, buddy, old time, we need help," you know? He could have very easily gotten, in a very interesting way, Monkey's meeting with Bull Demon King was almost Monkey meeting how he used to be, because Bull Demon King used to see Monkey as his elder brother and his really close friend because they were both so similar. But by the end, Monkey's changed so much that he and Bull Demon King are almost polar opposites. Though they're evenly matched in power, Monkey's not like him at all. And you see this in the last few missions that they undergo. It wasn't Tripitaka who ordered Monkey to save those boys that were going to be killed. Monkey wanted to do it himself. The group even praises Monkey for his compassion. Monkey changed wholeheartedly from a very self-serving, very egotistical, very pompous ape into an honestly compassionate individual. And when you look at what the allegories are of Journey to the West, it makes a lot of sense. The Journey to the West, as an allegorical tale, tells the story of the human journey of human life. Monkey represents the human mind. immensely powerful, ingeniously creative, unstoppable. And yet, it's tampered by egotism, selfishness, sloth, all these other things. But when it's allowed to be matured and disciplined, it can be an absolutely incredible force for good. Pigsy, or Zubaje, is representative of human weaknesses such as lust and gluttony and sloth, laziness, that kind of thing. He is basically the human desire. Now, desire isn't always a bad thing. As Tripitaka said, he helped them cross rivers and carry bags. Desire can have a lot of good to it. Desires allow you to pursue certain things. But they often get unchecked. And by the end of the story, Pigsy's the only one who didn't achieve Buddhahood because he's still lazy. He's still wrapped up in his own wantings and desires. Now, Sandy, he doesn't have a large part in play. You probably notice he wasn't mentioned as much, and that's probably the biggest problem with him. He is representative of, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess apathy would be the best way to put it. I'm thinking of a different word, but apathy is the first one that comes to mind. Quite often, we as humans decide that we don't want to get involved in things. We kind of let other people deal with our shit. Sandy is definitely along that line. He doesn't do a lot. He mostly stays quiet and only gets involved when he absolutely has to, which is why he doesn't get a higher position, because he's mostly just there. He's the kind of guy who's just kind of like, let everyone else solve the problems and do what needs to be done. I'm just going to reap the rewards at the very end of the story. And that's why he doesn't get a higher position. The horse represents the body. The horse is the one who carries Tripitaka all the way. And the horse doesn't do a whole lot either. There are a few moments, but the horse's big thing is that the horse carries him everywhere. You can't get far without the horse, We need the body to a certain extent. Then you have Tripitaka himself. Tripitaka is the human will. You need a will. You need a desire to achieve the ends. Tripitaka is the one who leads the whole group. He's the master. His will is what allows all the others to come together and achieve a goal. But you'll notice that even Tripitaka isn't exactly a good person all the time. He's whiny. He's conceited. He will cry and moan and complain. He's got a lot of problems himself. Plus, he listens to Pigsy a lot because the human will is drawn to desire more than it is logic. When Pigsy and Monkey argued a lot, you'll notice that Tripitaka sided a lot with Pigsy. And the reason for that is we as humans desire things. Like, we see a beautiful woman, logic says, hey, maybe you shouldn't go chasing after her and smacking her on the butt and telling her she's hot. But desire often outweighs the will, often outweighs the logic. See, Monkey was smart enough to recognize, dude, that hot woman is actually a demon. Or he may recognize, hey, this deal that sounds good is not good. Pigsy, meanwhile, all he sees is what he immediately wants. So, when you understand a lot of what this journey was, allegorically speaking, it's a story of the human journey. And I think there's something really, really cool about that. I think it's a very creative story. And here's the other thing about it. Some scholars who've read the book would argue that it isn't even that deep. It's just a fantasy story. And at the end of the day, that is what it is. But it's one of the most unique and fascinating stories of all time in Chinese literature. It is an epic in many ways. And like I said, the book that I read you is literally an abridged version. It's called Monkey King Journey to the West, retold by Julia Lovell. So if you want to get the book for yourself, definitely do get it. Me personally, I prefer the original. I prefer the original Journey to the West, all 100 chapters. This was 36 chapters. It was basically cutting out a lot of the shorter chapters or some of the less fun chapters and just kind of keeping it to its bare bones basics. But the full 100 chapter Journey to the West is a fascinatingly good read. It is a fascinatingly good one. And yes, if you've ever played the video game Black Myth Wukong and you've read the book, you may recognize some minor things in there. You may recognize some little tidbits of knowledge. For example, there is a whole mission around the Bull Demon King. So you may notice that. There's a lot of really cool stuff involved in that. But anyway, I don't think we'll read anymore. I thought about reading another short story to you guys before we call it, but We've been reading for almost 2 hours, and my throat is a little bit tired from doing all that. I will release a poll either tonight or tomorrow or sometime soon asking you guys what we read next. But now that we have finished Journey to the West, yeah, I feel very good about that. That was very, very awesome. And I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Let me know down in the comments section what you guys thought of the story, if you guys enjoyed it. And also let me know if you enjoyed me reading the story to you guys. Because, I mean, y'all could have just read it for yourselves, but you chose to listen to me, which I'm very much appreciative for. I'm very much honored that you decided to watch my video and listen to me read this. I know it took a long time, but I'm very glad that we're done. So, thank you all so much for joining me on this. I really, really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the story of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. I hope you enjoyed hearing how that went down, and now you know something a little bit new about a Chinese epic. Looking forward to that Wulin season coming up later in For Honor. Anyway, thank you all so much, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.